ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Extraordinary Podcast. Look, quick disclaimer, I stopped doing these about a month ago because my tripod broke. And it was that easy for me just to decide that because of a small little hurdle that I no longer was going to do the podcast for a second because, hey, I didn't have a tripod, which meant that the filming was going to be quite average. However, let's also discuss the fact that that is complete bullshit and a very, very big excuse to really not execute on something that's quite important, like sharing with you guys the blog posts that I write every week so that we have two formats. You can read them, you can listen to them, and you can watch me talk about them. And more importantly, when I talk about them, I like to rant a lot. So we have a lot to cover today. I am just pulling up right now exactly what we need, which is the blog post. And we're going to pick one of the last four that I've written. So let's discuss about those four. So we have got the 3 must-have supplements that you should take right now for maximum gains. I don't think we'll cover off that one. The number, I've got like 6 blogs here. So it's been about 6 weeks. 7 blog posts to catch up on. Let's go with the one that I think is probably most important, which is, we might cover off 2. So we've got the fresh approach to VSC, growth and community, and the new evolved values of vast strength and conditioning. So over the last, it must be 6 months by now, 6 or 7 months. Vast strength and conditioning went through a bit of a transition period. It was just Madison and I left. We've still got Troy, but with the exiting of other staff members, it meant that we'd lost the last of any of the original owners of the company who had any of those big says. And in saying that, we decided that it was probably time for us to really lean into what myself and Madison, who are the sole owners now and directors and everything to do with the head operations. We now have a great solid team that work with us who are completely, doing everything that we have asked and do ask and really are a strong role model for this. So we thought, what better time than to change the values that we have sitting just up on the wall over here that we worked on in 2020 than to update them in 2024. Now, there are a couple of steps and processes that are still in the works, like putting up the big signage that goes with that. But I think we can all agree wholeheartedly that over the last 6 months, there's been a big shift in how we approach a lot of the things that we do here at Vast Strength and Conditioning, and that has really lent into how we execute these values. So today's blog post that I'm going to read out, and then I'll probably quickly move on to the second one as well, is the one that I wrote on the 4th of October. So, not that long ago, 3 weeks ago. In 2021, when the partners of VSC opened our facility, the goal was simply to create a great fitness experience to help us, the community, and the families of VAS become fitter. We knew how to deliver a solid workout, but we hadn't yet developed a culture, values, and principles to guide us long term. In 2020, that changed. After a weekend locked away in an Airbnb in Dunsborough, we introduced a set of values that became the backbone of everything that we do. 2020 was a very turbulent year for everybody and most of us. Me in particular, that was when I had a very large meltdown and started to really work on exactly what are we trying to achieve with Vast Strength and Conditioning. I had a team back then that was very much in the same boat. We were staying in this for the long run, but it was very turbulent. That was the important thing to remember. It was really hard to understand where we were going to be fitting and sitting within the 12 months of the COVID pandemic. And a lot of businesses were in the same boat, but we wanted to succeed. And that's where these values and principles and everything else that came out of that trial, if you will, came from. Since then, these values have kept us grounded. They helped us survive the toughest times, grow into the thriving community we are today, and have been essential to shaping VSC into what it is now. 7 years into our journey, that's how long we've been going for. This is our 7th year. We've continued to evolve, but with that growth comes the need to refine the way we operate and the values that we stand for. The original values set the stage for the culture we wanted to build. They were suitable for the time, helping us stay focused on pushing us through challenges. But as VSC has evolved, so have our ambitions. We're no longer just about providing fitness. We're about creating extraordinary individuals who push their limits, aim higher, and achieve more in life. As our community has grown, it's clear we are operating at a higher level and our values need to reflect that. We've learned so much about the past few years and it's time for our values to grow with us, the VSC community. These new values are designed to meet the future head on while staying true to what has always made VSC unique. I think one of the things that's very important to remember is that something like VAS strength and conditioning, as much as it is about creating health metrics, the other side of it is it's really about building stronger relationships with yourself. And it's about building stronger relationships with people who have a solid understanding of where you want to head and what you're looking to achieve in your life. And that's why we really lean into now the extraordinary element of VAS strength and conditioning, not for you, but to build better relationships with yourself and those around you. It's a relationship that you are trying to create more so. And that's why you'll never really hear us talk about too much. Like, yes, I wrote a blog post yesterday about losing 5 kilos, but that stuff's important because that, again, it's about building relationships with ourselves. If we can build better relationships with ourselves, we'll build better relationships with others. And that's what something like VAS strength and conditioning is trying to create. And I think that is the movement pattern of what we're trying to do now moving forward. So in case you've forgotten or you haven't looked up on the wall recently, here were the old original values from 2020. They were enthusiasm, approaching all opportunities with enjoyment and interest, quality, prioritizing the characteristics that move us towards excellence, integrity, epitomizing humility and discipline, patience, welcoming delayed gratification through respect to the process, and persistence, pursuing forward motion to endure and overcome challenges. Every year at Christmas time, and this is why we need to move on this now, we do the value awards for VAS strength and conditioning. This year we're going to have to move on this a little bit earlier because, first of all, we haven't even planned when our Christmas party is yet. Probably better get onto that, Scott. Second of all, the values change. So now we can spend a lot more time really promoting who gets what, who's going to be voted for what thing, stuff and all that sort of thing. So these values were pivotal to our growth. They shape our community, our works out, and how we handle challenges. But as we've matured, we've realized that to keep growing, we need to be more refined in our approach. We are growing from a gym focused solely on fitness to a space that cultivates extraordinary individuals. And like I said, building better relationships with ourselves, building better relationships with our community or those around you. Our new values reflect the evolution of VSC, our members, and the role we play in the VAS community. Here's what we're moving forward with. New value number 1 is fitness. We approach every workout with passion and dedication, knowing that physical strength and endurance are the foundation of an extraordinary life. Number 2, community. We foster a supportive, inclusive environment where everyone grows, connects, and lifts each other up. Together we achieve more than we ever could alone. Knowledge. We're committed to knowing, continually learning, and self-improvement, understanding that the more we know, the more empowered we are to reach our fullest potential. And faith. Number 4, faith. We live by integrity, humility, and loyalty, trusting in ourselves and the process as we pursue greatness. And time is number 5. We respect time as a valuable resource, using it wisely to balance fitness, family, and personal goals. Success comes from patience, consistency, and making the most of every moment. To myself, Madison, and our team of coaches and our community of athletes, these values aren't just words on a wall, they are a guiding light, a checklist of daily tasks that will guide everything we do at VSC, from our programming to the way we support each other, to what we are becoming and how we achieve our goals. We believe in the extraordinary, not just in fitness, but in life. These values are the blueprint to help us. Sorry for helping us achieve that goal. We're here because of you. We're here because of you to our community in VAS and the surrounding areas. These changes reflect our commitment to the personal growth and success. Let us become extraordinary together. For me, being able to define what it meant, I really like being defined into what we need to be doing. So for me, operating off of a value system where it doesn't matter what happens, the decisions are already made. I just like it. I love it. I love having that control taken away from me where something, again, I don't even like, my days are very well laid out and set out in what needs to be done based on my value system. And I will confess that my values are very close to these values. There are 2 differences. I don't have faith in mine yet, but my faith would be different anyways, being the good Christian boy that I am these days. I don't want to push that upon anybody else. That's not what the faith element of this is. The faith element of this is about the consistency and the belief in the process. But really, things like fitness, community, knowledge, faith, and time, understanding all of these elements, to me, the answers are done. Like every time something pops up, an obstacle or something around what we need to make a decision for, we can lean into these values. So what I want to do now is, now that you understand those, is then lean into the next blog that I wrote, which was about a personal insight to what it means to be extraordinary. Why do I keep going on about it? What does this mean? To what level are we talking, discussing, really making this concrete for you and for myself and for everybody else that we work with in the community of VAS. So 4 days later, after the 4th of October, I wrote another blog post that was called A Personal Insight. What does it mean to become extraordinary and how you can do it too, even if you're stuck in the ordinary right now? What does it mean to be extraordinary? It is just my opinion, but the modern world loves to convince us that good enough is just fine. I'm already triggered, but we'll keep going. We're told to be content with comfort, not to push too hard and not to expect too much. There is this idea that everyone deserves an equal share, no matter how much or little they put in. But I've never been one to settle for that, and I believe that deep down, most people don't want to either. For me, settling for ordinary means being stuck in average results, average thinking, and an average life. Worse, we are stuck in a mindset that convinces us we can't be more. But being extraordinary is about breaking through that, about choosing to go beyond what's easy, comfortable, and expected. Again, I want to just point out that I am quite, I wouldn't say annoyed or disappointed, but I am not faultless in this. And clearly, me having to come back to doing this podcast after the tripod breaking, taking time off because of it, that's an ordinary behavior. And I'm not happy about it. And these things pop up on a regular basis where, I'll fall into those traps, and I might find other ways to be extraordinary that ignores the importance of the drab, the boring, the dreary. The likelihood of this video getting more than 10 views at this point is pretty low. So ideally, you can see how it's not hard to fall into that ordinary behavior, but it's important to break out of it. We know that doing a podcast gets our message out to people. It is 2024. Being a content creator, creating content that is valuable and worth watching and listening to is pivotal. It's vital. It's how we get our message out there to the people. And we are in a time where we can do that more. So I apologize for my ordinary behavior, but here we are doing the extraordinary and trying something, or making sure we do what we promised we were doing, which is to create this content. In 2020, I hit for me, setting ordinary means being stuck. Yeah, cool. This is my personal insight. So in 2020, I hit a breaking point when the world shut down. I'd already been through a divorce. That was at 21, 22, 23, something like that. It was a long time ago. I'd already been through a divorce, and I had a young child with a woman I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, but I was buried in debt on the verge of filing for bankruptcy. Then the world told me that people like me, fitness professionals, were no longer essential. That moment broke something inside of me. I'd spent my life helping people become the healthiest version of themselves, and suddenly none of it seemed to matter. I was lost, and for the first time, I questioned my own value and purpose. How could I make sense of everything falling apart? Make sense of everything falling apart around me. That's when I turned to books, desperate to find some sort of clarity to pull myself out of the chaos. It wasn't easy. I felt like a victim, helpless and afraid, but I still had to fight to keep VAS strength and conditioning afloat. We had no idea how long the storm would last, but I was responsible for ensuring our doors would still be open when it's all over. Even now, I remember I remember just how low I felt at that point, and it might seem a bit pathetic to you on this end of this. Like, we weren't the only ones in that situation, and I completely understand that, and I know that. But at that point, I'd almost felt like, and I go through this wave quite often, and I had a bit of a blow up yesterday, and it's sort of why, again, had a blow up yesterday, and it's sort of why I'm back here doing this now, was every couple of years, there's something that pops up that just completely rocks me and rattles And it just seems to be repeated. Like I've really stood back and paid attention, and probably the problem with being a deep thinker like I am, I see these ebbs and flows and these rotations. It's very difficult to not take them all personally, but you need to remember not to do that. But that 2020, I genuinely thought that was it. Like there was no need. Like whatever we were doing was just a rotunda. It was just a round and round Ferris wheel of here's the same shit happening again. You know, losing friends, losing colleagues, losing control. I felt powerless. We were powerless. We were, and it wasn't even that bad where we were. It didn't get bad till 21, 22. So, it was like a constant battle over those 2 years of just where were we at and how were things going to change. So, yeah, not a good time. I'm sure we all remember it. It was a time that tested everyone's courage. As Andy Frisella said about people during the pandemic, success takes courage. You have to be willing to stand up for what you believe in and when everyone else believes the opposite. So you have to be willing to stand up for what you believe in when everyone else believes the opposite. For some, that was the mask mandates and vaccines. Others, it was their rights to choose. Either way, that stuck with me because it highlighted a truth that I see every day. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is courage. Courage to keep going when things get hard. Courage to push through discomfort when everyone else is looking for the easy way out. Let me help you and share a little truth with you. I don't enjoy working out. I never have. It's uncomfortable and it's hard. But I do it because I know it's necessary to be maximally human. Our small, uncomfortable actions consistently lead to extraordinary results, which is part of who we are humanely. Something I learned from Jeff Olson's The Slight Edge. Success isn't about taking one massive leap. It's about the tiny daily disciplines that build up over time. It's not the big decisions that change our lives, but the small choices you make over and over again. I was having a conversation on Monday with our business mentor about how it drives me absolutely insane how we've got two sides of the bell curve, and I think it is a bell curve. We've got on one side people that are just completely dogshit lazy, like it's ordinary behavior to just tell people why they can't. Like that meme where the guy's sitting on the couch going, "Oh, if that was me," he's eating Cheetos and he's drinking soft drink, and he's like, "Oh, if that was me, I would have gone unbroken in that set of muscle ups watching the CrossFit Games or whatever." And then you've got a whole nother side of this where people are going on 100-mile runs, losing 150 kilos or what. I mean, that's not roughly it, but losing 50 kilos. Like there's these people doing fuck all, and then there's this whole camp of people doing super duper, like extra over the top or extraordinary things. And what we're missing is this bit in the middle. Like it should be glorified that you were doing the same shit for 10 years to become an overnight success. Not you went, Ned Brockman just did that 100-mile run or whatever it was, kilometer run. I think it was mile. And that's great, Ned, but and I don't poo-poo that. And Dave Goggins tells us that he goes for 400-mile bike rides after he's just had knee surgery, and Ross Edgley swims around the English Channel, and people are going to do the Rottnest Channel swim and do the Margaret River Ultra, but they shouldn't be doing that once. They should be doing enough to do that over 10 years and then be able to do a little bit of training for that for 3 months and then get it done. It's consistency every day needs to be glorified more than just the one big task that you do. Running 3 times a week for 15 Ks is not as, it's not as good as running the equivalent 7.5K 6 days a week. It should be glorified of what you do every day. It's what you do every day. That is extraordinary. Going too far past the bell curve, I did 4 days a week. It was fucking sick. And then I had 3 days off. No, do 7 days on, less over 7 days. The 20-mile march, that's what we need to glorify. The 20-mile march is a story. I can't remember if it's South Pole, North Pole, 2 teams trying to meet at the pole. One team marched every day, 20 miles. One team only left when the weather was good, and on those days they did big treks, and when the weather was bad, they stayed back. The guys who did the 20-mile march, they beat them to get there. It's in Good to Great with Jim Collins. I can't remember the exact story, but that 20-mile march, I love it. I think it's what we should be glorifying more than anything. And that's why I'm talking to you about. I don't enjoy working out. Like even this morning, that workout, I didn't want to do it. I don't like it. I don't enjoy working out. I just don't. But I know it's part of what has to be done for people to be extraordinary, to build better relationships with ourselves, to build better relationships with others. For me, this requires a mental shift. It is a realization that it isn't about feeling good or waiting to be in the mood. It was about understanding that every time I showed up, whether I like it or not, it's one step closer to where I want to be. Brendon Burchard talks about this in High Performance Habits. When far out, I've quoted a lot of books here. I must have been on a roll. High Performance Habits, when he says high performers create a sense of obligation around their goals. I tell myself, you need to do this, not just for yourself, but for your family, business, and future. That obligation drives me forward and continues to do so today, and has done for the last 20 years. Here's what I believe: everyone wants to feel great, have strong relationships, and be healthy physically, mentally, and emotionally. But too many people focus on the challenges in front of them instead of the journey ahead. They give up when things get hard and take the easy path, the one that makes them feel great in the moment rather than the path that will make them grow. They do ordinary things. Most people are looking for results without effort, but extraordinary isn't about waiting for the big moment or some stroke of luck. It's about showing up every single day, doing the little things that add up over time, and trust that the grind will pay off. Performance isn't glamorous, it's built into the mundane, it is in the consistency that most people ignore. Oh, amen, amen, amen. In fitness and in life, I've seen this over and over again. People start with a dream, but they give up the moment it gets tough. That's the heartbreaking truth of the fitness industry. They don't realize that the days when they feel like they've got nothing left, but you still show up, are the days that create extraordinary results. Once you understand that, your perspective shifts. The grind stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like progress. Battery saver's on, so we're nearly done. Excellent. This isn't something I learned overnight. It's taken me years to fully grasp that when you commit to being extraordinary, something unique happens. Benchmarks shift, and so much more is possible in this life. What once seemed impossible becomes your new normal, but the kicker is there's no finish line. You start to feel like life is, as Simon Sinek, wow, fourth book, you legend, author and inspirational speaker, describes as an infinite game. In the infinite game, when you master one challenge, you're ready for the next. It's a constant evolution. You realize that there's always more in you than you ever thought possible. So, what does it mean to be extraordinary? It means choosing effort over ease, growth over comfort, and action over excuses. It's about embracing the discomfort that leads to greatness and understanding that results are earned, not given. My journey from the breakdown in 2020 to where I am today proves that being extraordinary is possible for anyone. It's not about being special or lucky, it's about making the decision every day to push a little further, wake up a little earlier, work a little harder, and believing that there's always more you're capable of. Not in a David Goggins, you only use 40% of your potential kind of way. You just have to give it a nudge past the ordinary. The question is, are you ready to make that choice? Are you ready to become extraordinary, or are you screaming, hell yeah, this is me? Either way, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, that is 20 minutes. It's been a little bit over. I've read you 2 blog posts. I pretty much have summed all of that up for you. We are changing the way we look at things, and I want you to really lean into the fact that we are here to build healthier relationships for you with yourself, healthier relationships with people, to build healthier relationships with people who share common dreams and aspirations with you. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you extraordinary. Get up, go get after it, be about it. Let's become extraordinary.